They say life hides things from us until the moment we're ready to see them. Sometimes it hides love, sometimes truth, and sometimes revenge. For Michael Turner, that truth revealed itself the day he realized the company he'd built from nothing had been stolen from him by the very people he trusted most. Michael wasn't just any businessman. He'd spent 23 years building an empire in Chicago, a tech logistics company that started in his garage with 2 laptops and a second-hand printer. He called it Horizon Dynamics. Back then, it was just him, his best friend, and a dream. They worked nights, ate instant noodles, slept under desks, and coded until dawn. Within a decade, Horizon became one of the fastest-growing supply chain firms in the country. Big contracts, government partnerships, private investors. Michael had turned ambition into reality. But success has a funny way of attracting vultures. It started quietly. A few late-night board meetings he wasn't invited to. Investors whispering behind closed doors. Then one morning, Michael arrived at the office to find his keycard disabled. The receptionist wouldn't meet his eyes. His assistant of 8 years just muttered, "I'm sorry, Mike, I had no choice." And standing behind the glass doors of the executive floor were 3 men, the same. Men who once toasted with him over cheap whiskey when their first deal came through, now watching him like he was a stranger. That was the day they pushed him out of his own company, legally, cleanly, brutally. He learned later that while he was developing Horizon's new AI logistics software, the board had quietly changed ownership clauses, diluted his shares, and staged a restructuring vote when he was away at a tech summit in Seattle. In one night, the man who built everything was left with nothing. He spent the next few months in silence, no lawsuits, no press conferences, no public breakdown. People called him washed up. Reporters asked if he regretted trusting the wrong people. His ex-partner, Stephen Ward, gave interviews saying, "Michael was brilliant, but he lost focus. We had to move forward without him." That clip replayed on CNBC for weeks. Each time Michael saw it, something inside him hardened. Not rage, not grief. Something colder. Determination. He moved to a small rented apartment on the outskirts of the city near the river. No one knew where he was. No one cared. But every morning at exactly 6:15, he sat at his old wooden desk, the same one he'd used since the garage days, and started digging. Not for redemption, for retribution. The first clue came from an old friend in finance. He told Michael that Horizon's sudden success after his exit wasn't just luck, it was corruption. Stephen had partnered with a foreign logistics group involved in government contract fraud. They were smuggling falsified data through Horizon's servers to manipulate pricing on defense transport bids. Billions of dollars in contracts, only all dirty. And the best part? Stephen used Michael's original software, the code Michael himself had written, to do it. That was when the real plan began. Michael knew taking them down legally would take years. But he also knew Horizon's foundation better than anyone alive. Every file, every line of code, every security backdoor. He'd built the skeleton of that company, and he still had access to pieces no one else remembered existed. Quietly, he created a new identity under the name Evan Hale. He started a small consulting firm on paper, registered in Delaware, harmless and boring. Then he hired a handful of freelancers, ex-cybersecurity analysts, private investigators, and one retired journalist, all under NDAs, all paid in cryptocurrency. Their task to expose Horizon from the inside. For nearly a year, Michael lived a double life. By day, Evan Hale was just another tech consultant running audits. By night, Michael Turner was the ghost haunting Horizon's servers. He found proof of illegal bidding data, offshore accounts tied to Stephen and the board, and a hidden trail of money leading to a senator's re-election fund. He saved everything, meticulously, coldly, waiting for the perfect time to strike. The turning point came when Horizon announced its biggest achievement yet, a $1.2 billion merger with Titan Freight International. The deal was scheduled to finalize in 3 weeks, televised live from New York. Stephen would stand on stage as CEO, shaking hands with investors, smiling for cameras, the same cameras that once captured Michael being escorted out of his own building. Michael decided that was the day everything would burn. The first move was subtle. He leaked small fragments of Horizon's data to a handful of independent journalists, not enough to cause panic, just enough to create rumors. Then 2 nights before the merger, he uploaded a virus into Horizon's central database, hidden deep within the software he'd once written, disguised as a dormant update file labeled Legacy Patch 1.1. When it activated, it would wipe every financial record Horizon used to manipulate bids, and replace it with a mirrored database showing their crimes in real time. The morning of the merger, New York buzzed with excitement. The press gathered outside Titan Tower. Stephen Ward arrived in a tailored Navy suit, shaking hands, grinning for photos. "Today marks the future of logistics," and he said to the cameras. "A partnership built on innovation, integrity, and progress." Somewhere in a cheap hotel room 3 blocks away, Michael watched the live stream on a cracked laptop, calm as a man waiting for his coffee to brew. At exactly 11:47 a.m., while the cameras were still rolling, the giant LED screen behind Stephen flickered. Then it changed. The Horizon logo melted away, replaced by a black background and white text scrolling down the screen. One line at a time. Unauthorized transactions detected. Offshore account transfers. Cayman Islands. Fraudulent bids. Department of Defense. Reporters gasped. The crowd went silent. Stephen froze mid-sentence. Then hundreds of emails, contracts, and balance sheets began flashing on the giant display. Live data from Horizon's internal system, all verified, all incriminating. Every secret they'd buried for years was now public, streaming in high definition for the entire world to see. Within seconds, phones rang. Journalists screamed into mics. Security rushed to unplug servers, but it was too late. The legacy patch had already synced with every cloud backup, every device, every data mirror. There was no stopping it. Horizon's crimes were now archived across dozens of independent servers, and one of those servers belonged to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, thanks to an anonymous tip sent 12 hours earlier. By noon, Horizon's stock crashed 83%. Titan Freight pulled out of the merger. Federal investigators swarmed their offices. And Stephen Ward, the man who stole everything, stood in front of reporters, pale and speechless, as the FBI led him away in handcuffs. That image made front-page news the next morning. Horizon scandal shakes corporate America. Michael didn't celebrate. He didn't drink. He didn't even smile. He just turned off the live stream, closed his laptop, and sat in silence. For the first time in years, he felt nothing, not rage, not joy, just peace. A week later, he received a small envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single tarot card, the Tower, the card of chaos, destruction, revelation. On the back, someone had written, "What is the hiding for me?" He stared at it for a long time, unsure whether it was a threat, a message, or maybe fate mocking him. Then he laughed. The quiet kind of laugh that comes when you realize you've already destroyed everything that once destroyed you. Over the next few months, Horizon collapsed completely. Dozens of executives resigned. Investors sued. The company's assets were frozen. Every news outlet called it the most brilliant act of whistleblowing in corporate history. But Michael never came forward. He didn't want credit. He didn't want fame. He wanted them to never know it was him. And they didn't. Not officially. Until one night, 6 months later, when Stephen Ward, now awaiting trial, received a package in prison. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten note. It read, "You once told me innovation is about creating what the world doesn't expect. Consider this my final innovation." Stephen plugged the drive into a computer in the library. On the screen appeared the Horizon logo. Then it dissolved into a video of Michael sitting at his old desk, calm and composed. "Hello, Stephen," he said softly. "You taught me something valuable. You said business is war, that people either win or get erased. I just chose not to be erased." He leaned closer to the camera. "Now you get to watch everything you built rot, just like you watched me lose everything I built. Fair trade, don't you think?" Then the screen went black. The file self-deleted. Stephen's screams echoed through the empty hall as guards rushed in. But there was nothing left on the screen. Nothing but the words, "What is the hiding for me?" faintly burned into the pixels. After that, Michael disappeared completely. No social media, no records, no sightings. Some said he moved overseas. Others believed he joined another company under a new name. But a few insiders claimed something stranger, that Horizon's old software occasionally glitched, and when it did, a ghost username appeared in the system logs, M. Turner Origin. They said every time the name appeared, a few more corrupt contracts from other companies leaked mysteriously to the press, like someone out there had decided the world still had a few debts left to settle. Michael never looked back. He rented a small house on the coast of Oregon, overlooking the sea. Every morning he walked the cliffs before sunrise, coffee in hand, eyes calm, expression unreadable. Neighbors said he was polite, quiet, always working on consulting projects. They never guessed the quiet man next door once brought down a billion-dollar empire. Sometimes, late at night, he'd sit on his porch watching the waves crash, thinking about everything that happened. He'd pull out that same tarot card, the Tower, now worn and faded. He kept it not as a warning, but as a reminder. Destruction isn't always evil. Sometimes it's necessary. The stars reflected on the water. The air was cold. Somewhere in the distance, a ship's horn echoed through the fog. Michael smiled faintly and whispered to himself, "What is the hiding for me? Maybe nothing anymore." Then he stood, turned off the porch light, and walked back inside, leaving the card on the table face up, the lightning-struck tower gleaming under the moonlight. And that's the thing about revenge. When it's finally complete, truly complete, there's nothing left to hide.